Hey, Tony, you're a veteran in the league. I'm trying to get inside and get this game management thing, and I'm not asking you to carve the refs or do their job for them, but people out there don't know what game management is and how it would work. Could you, as a long time NHL player, when a referee is kind of managing a game, how would you describe that to me if I was just some guy that didn't know anything about hockey, which is what some people say I am?
Well, first of all, I think they have a tough job. There's a lot of stuff going on, on the ice that people don't see, and it's moving quickly. And you know, we demand a lot. We get fired up. There's a lot of emotions out there, so tempers are flaring, and um, it's you can disagree um, either way. We get into arguments with the refs a lot, but it usually settles itself out throughout the game. Um, so in a situation like that, you feel for everyone involved, but at the end of the day, the game has to be called fairly.
Is there times in a game when a referee says something to a bench or a player like, don't do this anymore or you're going to get a penalty? The fans and us media, we would never know about that. And then you guys get a penalty and we go, that's a cheap call. Is there some communication there that sometimes comes before penalties?
There's a lot of communication between the refs and the players and the coaches and things that happen, where maybe there's screens, there's replays. They'll catch something that they maybe missed, so they know there's been a mistake made. And sometimes I'll look at something that I thought was a penalty, and it turns out maybe it was my own guy's stick that got me or something. So there's communication, and again, it's a tough job. Things happen, but yeah, at the end of the day, it has to be called as fairly, and the integrity needs to be maintained.
Josh Clipperton, Canadian Press.
Hey Tyler, when it comes to the calls, do players want a standard that goes from the first game of preseason to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, or do you guys want this type of management that we've often seen?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing is the standard that needs to be set, from the start of the game or the start of the season throughout. That's what gets frustrating for everybody is if something's called a certain way and then maybe it doesn't get called later on. That's the thing that I think upsets people mostly. So if the standard's set, it's like anything. If you set the standard and you call it that way throughout the entirety, then I think everyone understands. But when things get a little bit out of whack is when things get frustrating.
And just if I can switch gears, I mean, usually a week off in Montreal would be great for anybody. What's it like for you guys? How are you passing the time? And what's your big takeaway from this? I mean, not saying that Montreal did anything wrong. We don't know if anyone tested positive, but just how invasive this still can be and how much of a danger this virus can still be to the season.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Again, it's been a mental challenge this whole time. This is just a little adversity we have to get over, and it seems like a lot of teams have faced this kind of challenge throughout the year. So this is the first one we've had to deal with, and um, we're doing good. We had some good practices. A little team bonding, and a little rest never hurt anybody. So just got to stay focused, stay hungry, stay sharp. Good practice today, move on tomorrow, another good practice, and we keep moving forward.
Rob Kichkowski, Post Media.
There's obviously a line between getting a good rest and getting some practices in and sitting idle for too long. Like, what side of that line do you think this falls on?
Yeah, I think if guys are a little banged up, that helps. If you're kind of rolling, sometimes you want to avoid losing that rhythm or those good habits. So, having good practices and making sure, we're not losing those habits is important. And so hopefully, the schedule can work itself out and we can get rolling sooner rather than later.
You guys had a good flow going.
Yeah.
Not saying you're on a roll, just maybe who you are, but to what extent does this disrupt the flow a little bit?
Um, Again, I think, it's just a weird year. It's tough. So you don't expect or anticipate it to happen, but with this COVID thing, it can happen. So you kind of prepare for it a little bit. We had a good practice today. Do some video. Stay sharp as we can, and rest up the guys that are all banged up, and you move forward.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
A couple of things, Tyler. You've been around the NHL for quite some time. Do you notice which refs are coming in and say to yourself, oh, he's worked the Stanley Cup finals and stuff. He's a really good ref. Do you notice that as opposed to some other refs?
Yeah, I mean, the longer you play, the more you get to know the refs and the linesmen individually. And, I've been hard on refs in the past, but during the games, everyone's fired up. And then after, you settle down and there's no hard feelings, and you move on, and they're competitive, we're competitive. So, again, they're trying to do the best they can. It just goes back to the standard that's set that we talked about before, and hopefully we can, just move on.
Change gears in 1 minute. You played 7 or 8 years in Buffalo. They have made the playoffs in 10 years. How does a former Sabre, you were drafted by them, how do you look at the whole situation there from afar?
Yeah, you feel for them. I got to know Kevin Adams very well. He was a coach of mine in Buffalo there. He's a great person. A lot of great people in Buffalo. The Pakulas, met a lot of fantastic, people in the community in Buffalo. It's a great city. They love their sports. So it's tough. I know a lot of players in the team. It's a tough go, but you just gotta grind and hope they'll get through it, and wish the best for them, because it's a city that is a lot like Edmonton in a lot of ways. It's a blue collar town that loves their sports, and anytime a city like that is struggling, it's tough. So I do wish the best for them over there.
Final two questions, Herb Zurkowski and John Lou. Go ahead, Herb.
Thank you. Hey, Tyler. Just what was your reaction last night when you heard the news? And look, I know you guys, nobody goes out of their way to catch COVID, to have a false positive or anything like that. But how do you not make this personal, knowing that you guys are now going to have to return to Montreal probably at the end of the season? And not only that, but it's basically you can say it's a squandered week. You could have been sleeping in your own bed this week.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's trying to follow the rules and protocols, and it's just a tough situation. We can't do much home anyways. We're pretty much rink home anyways. So for the guys with families, yeah, it's a little tough. But again, it's such a weird year that you almost expect one of these situations to happen along the way, and it's a mental grind. So it just takes a little bit more, a little more of that moving forward here, and build off some of this adversity and keep going.
Do you think you should have to return at the end of the season, or would you like to see the NHL maybe just adopt a system where it's based on winning percentages?
I guess that'll be something they have to figure out, but I'll have to think about that a little more. But yeah, for us, we're just trying to move one game at a time. But I guess it depends on what happens with this whole thing moving forward. But again, we're just trying to keep adding up wins as much as we can.
Final question, John Lou, TSN.
Hi, Tyler. Just regarding the subject you were addressing regarding refereeing standards, in light of the Tim Peel news, if the league does decide to review standards, game management, this whole big ball of wax, do you believe that's the impact may be on skilled players like Connor and Leon and yourself, that you may benefit from I guess, a more defined standard that adheres closer to the rule book?
Again, yeah, I think it just goes back to whatever the standard is set, that's what needs to be followed. And, there does seem to be a lot of times where, Connor is taking a little bit of more abuse than other people, but it's because he's got the puck on his stick a lot more. So he's got the puck more than anyone else in the league. So it just comes down to what the rules are, really, and then those just have to be followed.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.